Welcome to Soul Conversations with Z, Healing in the Raw, where we keep it raw, real, and unfiltered. I'm Zachyra Rodriguez, a trauma specialist and marriage psychotherapist, and this is a space where we dive deep into the messy, yet beautiful and often difficult parts of life. Here we challenge ourselves to face our fears and dig deeper into self-discovery. I'm no newbie. I've navigated many rocky roads and consider myself a recovered traumaholic. Life hasn't been easy, but I truly believe that everything happens for a cause greater than ourselves. Whether you're navigating with grief or grappling with trauma, healing from attachment injuries, or working on your marriage, we're here to unpack it all. No sugarcoating, just honest conversations about the struggles we face and the growth that comes from them. You matter, you are loved, even before your existence, and you're created to do great things. So grab a seat, my friend, take a long, deep breath, and let's get real together. So let's begin.
So hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bond That Heals, right? A mother-daughter soul talk that we're going to be talking about today. So my name is Zachyra Rodriguez, licensed psychotherapist, and I'm going to be having a great conversation today with my one and only baby girl, Sashi Vet. Everyone also knows her as Sashi. But I'm so looking forward to doing this podcast. I know we've been kind of talking about it for a while. And yeah, so I definitely am looking forward to today's episode because it's going to be juicy. So let's just say that. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do and, whatever is on your heart.
Okay, well, hello. My name is Sashi Vet. I go by Sashi as well. And I am a registered nurse. I work
got
on
nurses in the house.
I work on a med-surg, neurology, oncology psych floor.
Yes.
But it's kind of all branched under the med-surg crock pot, I call it. And yeah, that's what I do. That's really it.
All right. So what do you do like on your free time? Tell us a little bit about that.
My free time, I like to say that I'm basically like a little abuelita because I pretty much I stay home, I read my books. I do like to go to coffee shops. And
anything specific about the coffee shops that you like?
I just like the vibe. There's a coffee shop in Morristown. It's called French Press, and it's
your
French.
Favorite?
Yeah, probably. Okay. It's a French coffee shop, and I just get to imagine that I'm in Paris while I drink my chai latte.
So for those that don't know, Sashi loves Paris.
Never been.
Yes. Her theme of her life has always been Paris. Her actually being in Paris. She hasn't been to Paris yet, but it just seems like this has just been an ongoing thing for her.
Right. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about are you married? Are you single? Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm married.
Ooh.
I've been married for a little over 2.5 years now. And in April it'll be 3 years, which is
that's crazy. Yes, that is crazy. It's going to be 3 years.
Like we just got married.
Yes, and I feel that we were just running around trying to find a dress for you.
I know. It's crazy.
Yes, and all the different things. But it's been a minute, right? So, yeah. So today we're going to be talking about, the behind the scenes of our journey together and life transitions and you growing up and all that. And one of the things that I've noticed is that people always ask, especially during teenage years, as far as how was it? Growing up and everything else. So that's what we're going to be doing today. It's just going to be a space for honest conversations. And, I know we spoke a little bit this morning as far as what this was going to look like. And she was a little bit nervous, and just sharing as far as our experiences. One of the things that is just so important is for us to be able to keep it real and raw, kind of that's the name of the, the podcast as far as Soul Conversations with Z, Healing in the Raw. So we want to keep it, real.
Keep it real, keep it raw.
Yeah, there you go. Real and raw. That's all we're looking for, right? And we just want to be able to, just encourage mothers and daughters that are out there listening. Some of them have great relationships. Some of them are kind of having challenges and stuff. So we're just going to take it back a little bit and just kind of just talk a little bit about, how it was. So, tell us a little bit about your childhood. What was it like? Where were you born? Who are you?
As if you don't you
As
didn't
if
birth
I
me.
don't know,
Right.
but the audience, they don't know,
Yeah,
so they
the
need to know,
listeners.
they need to know who they're hearing.
So I am Little Sashi, as people would typically call me growing up. I was born in Brooklyn, New York. I lived
Woohoo,
there
Brooklyn
till
in
I
the
was
house.
6.
Brooklyn in the house, yes.
And then we moved to Jersey, and I've been in Jersey ever since.
How old were you when you moved to Jersey?
I was 6.
You were 6. How
Yeah.
was that like transition for you? Like you're coming from Brooklyn, New York, like Flatbush
I
area.
know.
That was yeah.
To like the farmland in New Jersey.
Yes.
Honestly, I don't remember the transition that much, but
Mm-hmm.
I do remember like just I remember that summer, like when I turned 7 and like my
Okay.
first birthday party in New
We did
Jersey.
have your first birthday party
Yeah.
when you were yes.
And like playing with the neighbors outside and stuff. Like I'm very much a Jersey girl now. Like I love New York, but I feel like I can't like I don't
Mm-hmm.
I can't like claim it because I left when I was 6. So I
Yeah.
feel like I
So you relate more to like New
yes,
Jerseyans
yeah,
than New
I think so.
Yorkers.
I mean, I love New York. I do.
Okay.
They're gonna take my New York card away. But yeah,
Yes.
I mean I grew up in New Jersey, so
Mm-hmm.
I mean it was like the transition was fine. I feel like I love like where we grew up. I love where like we lived and the schools that I went to, like the friends that I made. It was very solid. Yeah.
Yeah, very different too, right? Because I remember when you were actually going to these classes, you were taking like acting classes and everything else. And I think that transition. So tell us a little bit about how that was for you, right? Because there was some like defining moments when you went from like New York to Jersey, then Jersey to New York. It was kind of like your brain was trying to figure out like where am I kind of thing.
Yeah.
So how were those like defining moments? Because I know sometimes you were like, ooh, we're in New York.
I mean, I think it was just like finding different things that like made New Jersey home, I guess, because we also still like we were the first of our family to leave New
I
York.
know, that was
So
crazy.
that was tough. But
What do you
I
think was tough about it? Like, because I know that we grew up in a big family, right? So here I am having my siblings,
one
my
of 8.
brother. Yes, well, I'm one of 8.
Yeah.
Yes, for those that don't know, yeah, it's a big family, people. Yes, one of 8, and it's very loud
Yeah.
when we get together, right? Yes.
Very loud is an understatement.
Oh, loud is an
Yes.
understatement.
Yes.
Okay. So I become a child again when I'm with my siblings and stuff.
Right.
So we went from seeing them like almost like every weekend, speaking to them because and you can talk a little bit about like your childhood memory when you guys were all in the same school.
It was
And
just like very fun. Like we were just with each other all the time. Like I was with my cousins all the time. Like we even went to Catholic school because like 2 of my cousins were there and we're not Catholic, but it was like, oh, all right, we're switching schools. We're going there. So I feel like that was probably like the toughest part of the transition as a 6-year-old was like trying to decipher what that looks like with not being around my family all the time as much. But then from there, then some family moved to Georgia, and then like we kind of
yeah.
like scattered a little bit
I
from there.
know, I know. That
Yeah.
was really tough. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I remember like weekends we would like cook food, and
All the
it's like, what are
time.
you making? You're making the rice, you're making the chicken. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll get together and babysitting. We had no issues with babysitting, right? But you guys also kind of like owned that little Christian school that you guys went to. You remember that Christian school?
I do. Park Slope Christian Academy.
There you go. Okay, Park Slope in the house if you guys
Yep.
still exist. Yeah, I don't know if they do or not, but it was like what 8 of you guys. I think it was like
Yes.
8 of you guys going
Uh-huh.
to the school, and it was a really small Christian school. I think you guys transitioned from Catholic school to that Christian school.
No,
Was it the
I was
opposite?
at Park Slope when I was in kindergarten, and then we went to St.
That's
Rose of
true.
Lima when I was in first grade.
That's true. That's
And then
true.
it was only first grade.
Yes. But I remember that time, it was just like, just you guys. And we also had like the situation with 9/11 and trying to get you
Yeah.
guys, because during that time, like all that was actually happening.
Yeah.
So that was pretty interesting. I never thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the first time when we actually moved to Jersey. And I remember seeing the chickens walking around when I dropped you off at school. I was like, ay, ay,
Free
ay.
range chicken.
Yes, I was like, what have we done? But were any of those like moments like defining to you that you can look back and be like, wow, that you
I
kind of
think
hold on to?
I think I mean when I stop and think about it, like I remember the first like friend that I made in Jersey, and like when I was in second grade, there was I was in my class. It was like the first day of class, and there was one girl that I remember her and I like became friends. Like I remember little moments like that. But I feel like when I think back on it, it's more like as I got older, I think I had more like defining moments. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna get into those
We will
defining
touch on
moments.
those. Yeah.
Yes. All right. So you moved here, and well, we moved here, right? And with your other siblings, and
Right.
yeah, how was that? Like with your siblings, and I'm getting this memory that's coming up. And I don't know if we want to talk about that,
Oh
but
my
I think we should. I think we should. I think the audience would really, really like. So we have this running joke in our family. So we. So during this time, we actually had moved to Jersey, and we were still. Your dad and I were still working in New York. Dad still works in New York today,
Right.
and
If you need to know anything about New York, ask my dad.
yes,
He knows New York front and back.
yes, the trains,
He could
everything.
walk that city with his eyes closed and
Yes,
be like, "Oh, I know where I am." He
yes.
knows everything about New York. But anyways,
Where to stop? What number cart you should get into?
everything.
Yes.
He knows everything
He's the
about New
man.
York.
He's the man that we should definitely, the
Yes.
go-to person. So she comes home from school and lunch, right? I think we had left lunch. So why don't you, so the thing is this, and we always agree to disagree because for some reason I get a phone call at work that says, "Hey mom,
Make me sound-
Sashi is trying to feed me eggs from the garbage. She threw she threw the egg away and she made him eat an egg in the garbage." But
No.
you
See,
say that it wasn't
the way
like
that you
that.
tell the story,
But
right?
that's what I
So
remember.
I'm sure this is something you discuss as a therapist, like perspective, right? So, well, actually, let me go back. So I would say a defining moment with growing up in Jersey while you guys were in New York, like while you were working in New York, is
Yeah.
that eventually, like, we had people that were taking care of us, but
Yeah.
there were times where, like, I was in 5th grade, Mickey was in 3rd grade, and we would have to, like, Anthony was in middle school, I think, or high school at that time. So, like, I would have to, like, get me and Mickey ready, get us ready to, like, go to the neighbors, then go to the bus stop. So I assumed this, this role of
This little
having
role
to do certain things.
of mommy.
Right. And so anyways, back to your story.
Back to my story. Not back to the story.
Right,
Back to
no.
my story.
Back
Okay,
to-
it's my
back to your
perspective.
story.
Okay.
So long
Got it.
story short, I was making a snack for my younger brother, and I was like, I don't
Boiled
know, in
egg.
6th grade at the time. And what I thought was a snack, I still do to this day, is boiled eggs. I like boiled eggs.
Yes.
So anyways, I made him a boiled egg, very excited for him to eat it, and he said he didn't want it, and he threw it away in a fresh new trash bag. There was
But
no
it went into
there
the
was
garbage.
there was no other trash in the bag. This story
Okay.
is gonna make me sound like terrible, but I told him, you need to still eat that egg. Like, I just made it for you. And he called my mother and said, Sashi's trying to make me eat eggs from the trash. And I was told you can't do that. So I said, okay, I guess you won't eat it. And that was it. That was the story. But in his mind, he
Yes.
thinks I, like, took it out the trash and fed
Yes.
it to him.
Yes.
I never did.
That's what it sounds like.
I never
right?
did. I
Because
just said, you need to eat it.
I got a frantic phone call. It was a very frantic phone call. It was a bit concerning. I said, Mom, Sashiva is making me eat eggs from the garbage. So if you get a phone call like that at work, that's a little bit concerning. And I was not around the corner
Right.
to try to come home and figure out what's going on. So that was actually okay.
Right.
So,
but the moral of the story, people, I did not make my brother eat an egg from the trash. He didn't eat it, and I learned that he should not have eaten that egg.
yes,
and he
so
didn't. So
that was a great learning
he lived.
moment.
We survived.
Yes,
we lived to see another
you
day.
did. Yes, you did. I think both of you guys did, right? But yeah, I think till this day he is a little bit traumatized because of that little story.
Right.
But yes, but okay. But we'll continue. All right. So those were pretty much like your, growing up years. I know that, we started going to church at a very early age. And so tell us a little bit about like that community, because I know that community also was like a defining moment for you as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, we went to a Spanish church for a bit, and then we went to the church that I feel like I say like I grew up at, because that's where we spent like 5th grade up until my 20s. And I think that was probably where I actually felt like I found community. And like I had my friends there, like my closest friends and stuff. And like even now, I was looking at a picture I took for my birthday this past August, and I was telling one of my other friends because they were asking like how I knew everyone, and I was like, I know all these people almost from
Wow.
church.
That's crazy.
And like I grew up with most of these people, if not all of them. So I think from there, like we were just super involved with everything.
Yes.
Like we did plays, we did Easter plays, Christmas plays. We like I sang, I danced, I did like kids ministry, youth ministry,
Worship.
fine arts. Like we did everything. I used to joke like my punishment if like I didn't do something right,
I was
or
actually
like
gonna mention that. Yeah.
like if I got bad grades, it was like you can't go to youth group because you need to stay home and work on your grades.
I remember I used to tell my sister, I would be like, they're punished. They're not going to church. She was like, what?
And I'd
what
be
kind
like,
of
please,
punishment is
I
that?
need to go to the source, please.
My sister was like, you need to be thankful that your kids want to go to church. I was like, you guys are not clean. You're not going to church.
Yep, that
And they
was
would
our
be like,
punishment.
what? Yeah, imagine that punishment. Like I look back now and I could laugh at it.
But it was a very like just a very solid community. Like
Yeah.
I'm very appreciative of like the people that I met there and like the friendships that I made from being at church.
Yeah.
That was definitely a defining moment for me.
Yeah. Yeah, those were great, great memories. Like looking back, I think that because of that foundation, like we were able to adapt very quickly because people do ask, like, how did you guys move? Like having such a tight niche, because we grew up as a very, very tight niche, family, and having us like move. But it was just like, we had to move out of New York. And one of the reasons why we moved out of New York is because I remember Anthony was maybe like around 8 or 9. We were looking for homes. We couldn't find anything. And I don't even know if you know this story. Like we were looking in Long Island. I think that you know. And I remember there was like a gunshot outside, and we lived on the first floor. So there was they were like throwing, like bullets and stuff. And it was like, okay, we really need to get out of New York.
Yeah.
And it was hard. It was hard moving. And I thought that my siblings were going to follow me. They didn't follow
Nobody
me.
did.
Nobody followed me.
Nobody wanted to live in the farmlands
Nope,
of New
nobody.
Jersey.
Nope, not even my brother, right? And my sister, she would have followed me. But that's a whole different story for another day. But yeah, and I just knew that everyone was going to come, right? And sometimes God will remove you from these spaces because he needs to open up, space for new things. And that was a bit difficult, But I'm so thankful that we did have that community and stuff. And then, then we transitioned to like your teenage years. So tell us a little bit about how was your teenage years and, growing up in the farmlands and in Jersey, out of Brooklyn.
The farmlands of Columbus.
Yes.
I mean, my teenage years, when I look back on them, like, I feel like that's really where I discovered, like, my faith for myself. And I don't know, I guess I just tried to figure out, as almost all teenagers do, like, who I was, like, what I believed in. I went to public school for all of my, like, pretty much K through 12, except for that 1 year at the Catholic school. But
and the Christian school too. When you were little.
Yeah, in kindergarten.
Yeah. Yes.
But like 2nd grade to 12th grade, I was in public school.
Yeah.
And I am very appreciative of it now because I feel like I learned so much and also just learned how to like, you meet so many different people from so many different cultures and backgrounds and religions. And it forces you to kind of be like, all right, well, like if somebody's asking you who's never been to church before, didn't grow up Christian, and they're saying like, well, why do you go to church? Like, why do you have to go to church every Wednesday? And then I had to be like, why do I go to church every Wednesday? So I think that it definitely allowed me from a young age to like have empathy for other people who don't think the same way I do or may not believe the same things I do. Like my closest friends in high school weren't the same religion. And I think it just helped me to like really build on the foundation of my faith, but also just like on things that I valued that other people may not have valued, and figured out like, all right, well, why do I not do this? Why do I do this? Or why do I like refrain from doing certain things? So, yeah, I feel like it just helped me figure out like, all right, well, what is it that like I believe in and why do I believe it from like a younger age, I would say.
Yeah. And I think your teenage years are years that they were solid, but I think they were also like a little bit like rocky, right? So when we think about like our relationship too, like having these conversations about, like friendships and that's tough, right? As a teenager, having such a solid foundation. And it wasn't like anyone was making you, but it was like, again, like you would get punished. Like your punishment was like it wasn't like you were being forced, right? And I think back on that, and it was like you really, even though you were in public school, you really wanted to go to the Christian school. You wanted to go to that
I
academy.
wanted to be a warrior.
Yes, you wanted to be a,
Yes.
and it's so interesting because you didn't become a warrior. That's actually the theme, right?
That's
The
their
theme.
mascot.
Yeah, the
Or I
mascot.
don't know if you would call a warrior a mascot, but yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Whatever that is for
The
their
red,
school.
it's a
It's
red
a
thing.
warrior. Home
Okay.
of the warriors.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, so Mickey got to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your brother, he got to go to
Yes, he did.
the school. And then I remember, yes, I remember the defining moment about you writing us a letter. You want to tell the audience a little bit about that?
Sure. So when I was in like 7th or 8th grade, again, all of my closest friends were at church and they all went to like the same Christian school attached to our church. So I was like, I want to go be a LCA warrior. Like I want to be there.
I want to go be
Yeah,
with
like
them.
I'm trying to be at LCA, and my parents were like, "You're not going to that school," and I could not understand. But also, I was very involved in from middle school through high school. Like I was very involved in choir. I did like select choirs, regional choirs, state choirs. I was very choir was my thing.
South Jersey.
I was a choir gal.
Yes.
I was involved in like our musicals and our like plays that we had and stuff like that. So I was very adamant, like, please let me go to this school, please. And my parents were just like, no, like, it's just, we think you need to stay where you're at.
Yeah.
So, long story short, I felt compelled to write this letter and leave it on. I don't
It
even
was
think
on
I
my
gave it to you. I
dresser.
just like left
Yes,
it.
you left it on my
And I,
dresser
like,
and it
walked
just
out.
said mom and dad.
Yeah, and it was
Yes.
pretty much just me like pleading, like, please, can I go to this school, please?
And the reasons why you should go to the
Yes.
school. Yes.
And they basically were like, yeah, thank you for the letter, but you're not going.
But do you understand today why we
Oh,
didn't
of
let
course.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad that I stayed where I
Yeah.
was. And obviously I feel like people always say hindsight's 2020, but I did so many things at my school and I was able to be involved with so much
Yeah.
stuff that I would have not been able to do.
Yeah.
And again, just like being able to meet so many different people with so many different backgrounds. Like I'm very thankful I stayed where I was. But I was very, very much trying to not be there.
Yes, I know you weren't trying to stay at all at Northern Burlington.
No, I didn't want to be a greyhound anymore. I
No.
wanted to be a warrior.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it looks like Greyhound really helped you, right?
Apparently, yep. NBC.
There you go. And it's such a great school, right? So were there any people like during that time that you feel that kind of, influence you like during your teenage years? Because I know that you did not have like a large group of friends and everything else, especially
Yeah.
because of, how you grew up in your own, your foundation and your faith. So tell us a little bit about that.
I guess like people, I don't know if I had like a specific outside of like family, because I feel like you and I talked a lot through certain things where I like if I struggled with friendships or that kind of thing. But like outside of that, I don't know. I mean, I feel like the teachers that I had in school were very like influential in my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think that there was like a specific like person I could say like, man, I feel like this person was like a mentor to me throughout, which I
Yeah.
think was also why I became so passionate about like youth ministry
Yeah.
and like wanting to be that person that I
Yeah.
didn't have when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's what I was like striving to do once I was in that position was to
Right.
kind of be able to like be that person for people going through like middle school and high school.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know that they would do I think once a year it's like be at the flag. I forgot the name of that. Yeah.
Meet me at the pole.
Meet me at the pole, yeah. And tell us a little bit about what that is.
So basically, when I was in high school, I was a part of a group called FCA, which is Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Am I an athlete? No. But am I Christian? Yes. So we basically coined it as like, you don't have to be an athlete, but it's like a group for people to meet. We met, I think, like every Tuesday or something like that. And it was basically just for people to come out. We would like talk through different things. And so we had Meet Me at the Pole, and it's basically like a yearly thing, once a year, where like schools across America, you pray around like the flagpole at your school.
Yeah.
And I think it was like maybe my sophomore year or something like that. I went, and I think it was a very small group of us.
Yeah.
But it was just very, again, I feel like that was like a defining moment of like,
Yeah.
people are going to be getting off the bus. They're going to be wondering why I'm standing out here and like I'm going to
Yeah.
have to explain. But I was just very much like, yeah, like that's something I do. Like, and if
Yeah.
people ask me, I would say like, this is why I do it. Like, this is,
Yeah.
you know, what we're doing. If you want to come and hear more, you can. We meet.
Yeah.
We met in our chemistry, my science teacher's classroom.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, that was pretty much it. Like, just taking those moments to be like, this is something that it's not like my parents are telling me this is something I have to do. Like, I'm doing it because I want to.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I could definitely say that I'm very proud of, because
Thank
even
you.
though you stood alone, you were still there, like just showing up and being like, this is my belief, this is what I believe in,
Yeah.
and I know that that was challenging. So can you think of, when you think about as far as like, were there any, things that you had to like navigate as far as like challenges, let's say like with our relationship or anything during that time?
I think just like as I was like becoming my own person, like having to figure out like what am I doing that's like because I want to do it, what pressures do I maybe feel to do like as this like middle child daughter like that I need to do, and even just like I don't know, there's just so many different things because also like I'm navigating being in high school, trying to be my own person, but also trying to like listen, and like growing up also where I did like as diverse as it was, I also like there was I don't think there's any Panamanians in Columbus, New Jersey besides us. So it was also that of navigating like I'm a Panamanian
First
American.
generation
Yeah,
too.
like I'm first gen. What does this look like? I feel like I'm having to like explain myself and how I may not look like a Hispanic person looks, quote unquote, to people, but like I'm like Hispanic, but I'm also American, but like just so many different
Yeah.
like different things I had to kind of navigate. So, I mean, I feel like honestly, our relationship was very solid. I think we kind of had more things we dealt with and like, I don't know, what is it called? Like growing pains.
Yeah.
More so once I was like in college and stuff.
Yeah.
But I feel like in high school, it was
Yeah.
more me trying to figure out all that other stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's like we don't look at it right that way, because for us, like we were born in Panama and dad and I, and so it's like you're trying to be raised in an American culture.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, we're like, you need to speak Spanish and you need to, make sure that you're Panamanian because there's a Panamanian pride, right?
Yeah.
And every year you would go to Panama, right? So you want to share, let the
Yeah, I
audience
mean, a big
enlighten us
part
a
of
little
my
bit?
upbringing was every summer, my brothers and I would go to Panama for pretty much the whole summer. And while we were there for a little bit of time, we would be in school in
Yeah,
Panama.
like for 2 weeks. Yeah.
And we were just, I mean, we would just be like going between our grandparents' house, like bouncing all around. And it was like probably my favorite thing we did. Like a
Yeah.
big highlight of my childhood was the time we spent there
Yeah.
with like our cousins, with my grandparents and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's some cool times. Good memories. Good memories. Yeah.
very much.
And for us, it was just so important that you guys really got entrenched in the culture, because we wanted to make sure that that was something that you guys knew, like your culture, like your background, like who your parents are, who your other cousins are.
Right.
And then when you came back to the US, like after those 2 months, I mean, it was just like blah, 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 like speaking in Spanish and everything else. But even with that, I remember that you guys would get so frustrated when I would be like, habla español, yo no te entiendo, and even having like posters, right, around the house.
Yep.
Yep.
We had posters around the house. They said, hablar español es bien importante. Or even like I would be saying something and I would say like a full phrase of whatever my story was. And
In English.
yes, in English. And my mom would just be like, yo no te entiendo. And I'd be like, you literally know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. You speak English and Spanish. And I would have to repeat the whole thing again in Spanish, which I'm very grateful for now. But at the
Thank
time,
you. Wait, I'm sorry. Let's go back. Audience, let's just hear, what did she just say? Can you just repeat
I
that?
said I'm very grateful for that now. But at the time, if I'm
wow.
trying to tell you a whole story and you wait till the end to be like, you don't speak English, then I'm like, all right, you know what I just said, but now I have to say all over again.
You guys would get so upset with me, and I would be like, yo no te entiendo. Yo no te entiendo. Háblame en español. Right? But even with that, you guys were able to go to like, I think it was called heritage speaking. Like, I can't remember.
Oh, Spanish for heritage.
Yes, that's what it was.
Spanish for native speakers.
Yes. And you guys had to be with Senora Blanco.
Yep.
Shout out to Senora Blanco if you're
Yes.
listening out there. But yeah, and you had to speak Spanish like all the time. So I think on our end, I think that we did a good job as far as like really allowing you guys to be part of that culture and understanding. Even Anthony, right?
Yeah.
He would have like a big, huge Panamanian flag, in his room and stuff. And so I'm very grateful for that you guys did get to have that experience, like looking back today. So let's take it a little bit deeper now. So how would you describe your relationship now, like with us, like compared to when you were like younger?
I feel like now, I mean, I think that there's a lot of different like ebbs and flows, right? So there was the season of like, I'm home and we're close. We see each other every day. I'm living at home. Then there was the season of I'm in Florida now, especially like I left, I think 2 months after Anthony passed away.
Yeah.
So then it was navigating what that looks like to not only be grieving, but also be away. And then I moved back home and I was living at home and then I got engaged and then I got married and then I moved out. So I feel like our relationship feels very solid. It's like navigating, okay, what does that look like? How do we communicate all the time? Or how do we maintain communication where I'm not like living at home so I don't see you all the time, but still making sure like we're still caught up with each other.
Yeah.
So I feel like we try to do a good job at that. Like on my way to work, I'll send an audio message. And then like sometimes I'll try to call you after work unless it was a really unless I had a day
if she
and I
has
just
a day
need to
and I don't hear from her, I already know.
I just need to drive in silence.
Yes.
But yeah, like trying to do that, trying to prioritize like making time to see each other, even if it's like watching Dancing with the Stars.
Oh, yeah, she got me hooked on that now.
Yes. Please
That's
don't
our
vote for
thing.
Andy. Please, if you are voting for Andy, please stop. Anyways,
That's a whole thing, okay? That's a whole thing. Hopefully we can maybe post
if
a
you
video.
know, if you know, you know. If you're voting for Andy, stop it right now.
She has like a whole thing about this
Please.
Andy person, yes.
But yeah, so I
Yes.
think just like trying to prioritize like making time in that sense where it's not just like, all right, I live at home so I see you all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like it's good. I think that like we have a solid place now too where I think growing up there were certain times where I'd be like, man, like I need to tell her that like I don't know, like let's say if you said something that hurt my feelings, like I would kind of feel like I don't know, like if I should say it. But I feel like now we're in a place where like there's times where you've come to me and said like, hey, I feel like you said this and I really didn't appreciate that, or like I can say, hey, like we had this conversation or like something happened like this, and like kind of talk through it like adults, you know. So I was actually thinking about that when I was thinking about coming here. Like growing up, you very much let me know. Like
Oh, yes.
she would just
Yes.
say like, I'm not your friend, I'm your mother. And I feel like now it's nice to be like, obviously as a child you need like a parent. And it's nice now to also feel like we are like you're also my friend, not just my mom.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Yes. Now that you say that, I'm thinking back that was one. I think those were some defining moments that we had, because I think that we did really good as far as like being crazy at home and having fun and everything else. But one thing that I always remember that I would be like, I just want you to know that right now this is a mother moment.
Yeah.
And I would like stop you right in your
Yeah.
tracks and be like, let me just check you. Because you got a lot of friends, but I will always be your mother.
Yes.
And I think that was very helpful, because I think that you still knew, like, even though you would tell me stuff and we would have like some deep conversations, even times when you felt alone and everything else, it was like, okay. But then when you wanted to like pasate un poquito or like go a little bit extra, it would be like, oh, let's pull it back. We're going to bring it back, girl, because yes, I'm still your mama.
Yes.
Right? And I'll always be your mama. So I like that you said that, because I think that for many people that are listening out there and you're trying to figure out like, how do you guys develop this bond? It starts from pretty much like very young, like being able to establish those boundaries, being able to say, I'm listening to you, I'm here for you, But at the end of the day, I'm always going to be your mom because you're going to have like many, many friends. And I think some of the things that maybe moms do is that they try to be the friend before the mom. Like, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I can't speak to being a mother because I'm a mother to a beta fish. That's about
Yes,
it.
to a beta
But
fish, people. And
yes,
his name is Darnell.
yes, Darnell the beta fish. But
Yes.
I mean, I feel like I don't know. Like, there's no perfect formula for it because
Yeah.
obviously, like, we're human. Like, you're learning to raise kids as they're growing up, as
I was
your
so
kids are
young
growing
too.
up. You know.
Yes.
But I feel like it's just a matter of like feeling like you can be honest
Yeah.
and feeling like you have a space where you can share how you really feel. And I remember
So it's
that was
like
something.
safety that you're talking about.
Yes,
Yeah.
like I remember growing up too, that was something that you would say where like if there was something that happened, you would always be like, "Listen, I'm going to find out either way. Like it's better if you just tell
Oh,
me
yes.
than for me to just find out later. Like if there's
But don't
ever
be
something
crazy.
going on, right?
Tell me the craziness
Like
now. I
just
don't want
let
to
me
find out when
know.
I get to school.
Right. So I feel like that would kind of have me like I would get like a pit in my stomach sometimes if I had to tell you something because I would just be
Yes.
like, man, like I have to tell her this, but also I'd be like, I'd rather her know from me than
Yeah.
know from whatever.
Yeah.
So I think it's just like learning that. Like it hasn't always been perfect. I feel like we went through periods where I had to
Yeah.
kind of be like, all right, like I feel like I have to share this, but like I don't know how it's gonna be received and like vice versa. But I feel like we've kind of figured that out. Like we have a good communication system. I think it just comes down to being able to feel like you can communicate with somebody.
Yeah. I think in any relationship, right, you have to
Right.
be able to learn that at the end of the day, like if you don't share what's happening, if you're not able to come and feel safe in that space, that's a bit difficult. And I
Yeah.
think for us, it did take, and we did have like those moments. It was like, okay, like we need to talk, whether we like it or not, right?
Yeah.
And I think even today, one of the things that we always say, and we'll get to that in a little bit, but as far as like, well, we do hard things, we've been through some hard things and
Yeah.
and we've had to learn, and yeah, I was so young, like when I had you, not so young, but I was
You
like
were young.
20.
You had your first kid at 23. That's
I had
crazy.
my first kid at 22.
That's crazy.
Yes, I did. I had my first kid at 22.
I can't imagine.
And at 28,
At my age, you had 3 kids.
yes, I had at the age of 28, I had 3 kids already. So
That's
is
insane.
Like, yes. And looking back, right, it was kind of like I was growing up as well as with you guys. But I'm so thankful to God that even with all that, I'm not a perfect mom. I know I've made many mistakes and I'm going to continue making mistakes because we're all human. But I do believe that because of the fact that we were grounded and growing up, through faith and everything else, I think that really helped a lot, even though we didn't have like family and stuff, beside us. So I think about like the transition when you went away to college and now it's like, whoa, like that was removed. And I know it was a very difficult time. Well, when you first went away, I know you had went to Naya College and all that. And Dad would go every single weekend to pick you up because you were like sad
I
that
did
you
not
needed
want
to
to be
come
there.
home. But she was the one who wanted to go to that school.
Yeah.
So, and even with that, we were like, I don't even know how many hours away. And you would still
I think it was at least 3 hours.
3 hours. And Dad, every single Sunday, he would sacrifice and take it. He's like, okay, baby, let's go. And he would pick you up at the train station. And just for those that don't know, Sasha was amazing because she would even throughout that transition, you would take like about 3 different forms of transportation, I think.
Well, just like if for people who have children who are looking about college and all that, just, I highly recommend the community college route.
Oh,
Before
do?
you go to university, if that's something you want to do. That's another thing where your parents they're right. They know what they're talking about.
Sorry. You just said something really important. You said
yes.
parents are what?
They're right. If they're telling you not to do that, okay?
Yes, we got another one, guy. Number 2.
So basically, long story short, I was like, I want to go away to college. So I went to New York, upstate New York,
Yes.
Nyack. And I mean, the time there, like I have a few friends that I still like communicate with from time to time that I went to school with there. And I very much now look back at that time like with like just I'm very happy about that time. Like I like to go back up to visit and stuff. But when I was there, I was miserable. I was coming home so just to give you guys an idea, I was traveling from Nyack, New York, so I would walk like 3 or 4 blocks from the school to the bus station, wait for the bus, take like an hour and a half bus ride from Nyack, New York into the city, get to Port Authority in
With their
Manhattan
suitcase.
with a little, or like a book bag, whatever. Be in Port Authority. Then I would walk like 8 or 9 blocks from Port Authority to Penn Station, take a train from Penn Station back into Jersey. And that was literally for like the weekend. So I would do that on like a Thursday or Friday night. And then my dad would drive me back to Nyack on Sunday. So all that to say,
Crazy.
I probably should just done BCC for like 2 years.
I think so. I think you should have done BCC as well. Yes.
But we live and we learn.
Yes, we do. We live and we learn, like how we said, right? That we're not perfect. So now let's go to an area that I know that's kind of like a soft spot for our family. And after Nyack, you did you go to community? I can't even remember.
I was home.
I think you were home for
I
a
was
little
home
bit,
for
and
like a
then-
year.
Yeah.
And then I was really trying to go to Southeastern University. That was like my dream school. And they were the only like
In
AG.
Florida.
Yeah, Lakeland, Florida. They were the only AG university that offered nursing, which is what I wanted to major in. And it was nice that it was in Florida. I applied, I got in, and
Applied
then
on her own.
Yeah, I didn't
didn't
really
even
tell
know.
anyone.
Yes, she
I
did
told my
not.
older brother, and then I got in, and he knew that I got in, and he was like, "Well, like that's gonna be fun for you and exciting and stuff." And then that same year, he passed away
Yeah.
in June.
So, for those that do not know, we have our son. He passed away at the age of 24, and it was just very, very sudden. So it was traumatic for all of us because we were not expecting something like that.
Yeah.
24 years old, he had just turned 24, and then all of a sudden he gets this autoimmune disease, and we thought it was a sinus infection, and 3 weeks went by, and then we lost him, right? And it's different when you have someone they're ill, and not that it hurts less, but it was just very, very traumatic. We have you guys, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden, from the middle child, you kind of become, and I don't know, I don't want to speak for you, but how was that transition, going to college? Now you're like independent, and you're trying to navigate, through your own grief. And you left literally, like, I want to say like 2 months after.
Yeah.
So
in
that was
August.
hard for all of us because now Anthony's gone, and Mickey's home.
Yeah.
Dad and I are home, and you're in Florida. So our family was kind of like just like ripped apart
Yeah.
in such a little bit of time. And so why don't you like walk us through that as far as like how was that season for you?
I think that season was like it was what it was. Like there's no, I feel like when you're grieving, there's no real, you can't really say what you're going to do till you're in it. But I knew, like, I think I want to say it was maybe in like July of that summer where I kind of was thinking to myself, like, if I don't go now, like I've been accepted.
Yeah.
If I don't leave now, I'll never leave.
Yeah.
And I'll never go. And I wanted to go, and I feel like that was kind of like it felt like the first time I was really making like an adult decision for
Yeah.
myself, like. And I just kept thinking, like, my brother knew that I wanted to go. Like, he was excited for me to go. And I just thought, like, if I stay home, I'm never gonna want to leave my family to go.
Yeah.
So I packed up my stuff, and we went with like a group of 9 of us or something.
Yes.
And
These
I
were
moved
all
in.
Anthony's friends. And
Yeah.
they were amazing because they really helped us get through those moments of grief.
Yeah, they helped move
You
me
had a
in.
solid group of friends.
And yeah, I mean that first year I feel like was just very like, I don't know. I mean, I met some of my best friends now are people that I met from being at SEU, and so I'm very thankful for having gone there. But that first year was just very much like just very like dark. Like I was actively grieving. I had just moved to a whole new state. Like I didn't have any family in this state. I was basically by myself. Frankie, my now husband, then boyfriend, was also there too. But like there really wasn't like, I was just kind of like just kind of thrust into this experience. I feel like there was still though like moments that were very much, I feel like little pockets of I had to say pockets of peace, but like just little nuggets where I feel like God just made it very evident, like I'm still watching over you, or like just making this transition as easy as I can make it. Like
Yeah.
my roommate from my freshman year at SCU, what ended up becoming my maid of honor. Like she's one of my closest friends. And just during that time, like I was able to navigate my grief because she was also just like, she handled that so well. Like I can't imagine how I would have handled like you're moving in with someone who just lost like their family member. But I feel like she did a great job at just like asking me like questions about my brother, or like, you know, wanting to get to know him. And I think Frankie did a good job too.
Yeah.
And just, you know, I mean, it wasn't perfect. I definitely learned like that I just developed certain unhealthy coping mechanisms, as you do when you're trying to figure out how to navigate what life looks like when you lose someone suddenly. But yeah, I feel like it was a difficult season because it had to be. Like there's no like, oh yeah, well this was like just
no
perfect.
sugarcoating it.
Yeah, like it just like there was periods of it that just sucked, but I think that I tried to make the most of it, and I feel like the Lord really kind of held me through that. Like I remember the week leading up to Anthony's funeral, like I was by myself at the house for a second, and I don't know why, because there was so many people at the house, but I was alone, and I remember out loud praying like, God, I need the like indescribable, inexplainable peace that you describe in the Bible, because if not, I don't know how I'm gonna make it through this week or through next month or like through the rest of my life. And I feel like there were so many moments where I remember feeling like, all right, I feel like this should be something where I would be like, you know, just on the floor. And instead, I was able to just kind of like navigate with that like peace that I had that allowed me to like get up and keep going in the morning.
Yeah. And even through those moments, I remember when we had to go and pick out, get the preparations for the funeral. I remember you were pretty strong, during that time as well. Just trying, like, we did stuff that we didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And then having you leave to go away to college and trying to figure that out. And Mickey was just starting, his freshman year at community college. It was like, I look back today and it just seems like, oh my gosh, it was 8 years ago, but still with all that, it was very, very difficult. And, you know, one of the things that I remember that got us through it, as we're talking about this bond, I remember that there were times that you would be crying, I would be crying, Dad would be crying, and Mickey would be crying. And I remember we would go up to each other because we had to figure out, like, how do we navigate through this grief now, right? And I remember we would go up, and I don't know if you still remember that. We would be like, day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, day by day.
Mm-hmm.
And we would get through it that way. And one person would say that, the other person would say the other.
Yeah.
And then we would just, and we would just kind of just breathe.
Yeah.
You know.
I was actually just sharing that with a friend of mine who's going through her own grief journey. And I was telling her how like I feel like a lot of times when you're in the middle of like the heaviest season of grief, it just feels like, how am I supposed to navigate this? But also like, how am I supposed to keep like functioning? And how is the world like still turning while
And
my
still going
world is
on.
like
Yeah.
upended?
Yeah.
I think that was like in the like early stages of him passing. I like couldn't comprehend that. Like, how are people still outside like mowing their lawn and like taking out the trash
Being
and
happy.
like going to work when I'm like getting ready to go to my brother's
your
funeral
heart
or stuff
is-
like that. And I was sharing that with her, like it really is sometimes you literally have to like it's a minute by minute thing.
Yeah.
Or like it's by the hour. Like this hour I'm okay. Next like
Yeah.
in an hour I may not be okay, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And just kind of navigating that, like it's very, very raw, and you have to like allow yourself to
Yeah.
feel all of that, because if you don't,
Yeah.
then
It's worse.
yeah. And
it's
there's
worse.
no like there's no real like perfect formula for it, but it's whatever helps you. Like I remember for me a big thing was even with like music, like Johnny Swim has this song called Georgia Capon that I listened to all like the week leading up to Anthony's funeral. That was like when I couldn't sleep,
Yeah.
I just had that song on repeat. And it just talks about loss and it talks about grief. and that whole album was really good. But
Yeah.
there's that song, and then there's another song called Let It Matter by them that's really good, and it just talks about how like grief, like you feel this like heaviness because you loved so deeply.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, I get to grieve you because I loved you so much.
Yeah. And you guys were very, very close. So it was
Yeah.
kind of difficult because people actually thought that you guys were like twins because you did worship team together. You did youth ministry
Yeah.
together. He was like your guy, like your best friend.
Yeah.
And having to try to like navigate that and trying to figure out like the second by second, minute to minute, hour by hour, day by day thing.
Yeah.
It was tough. And I remember there were times that you would be crying, I would be crying, Dad, Mickey, and it was just like, wow. And one of the things that I remember that we did pretty good at was like, what do you need? Do you need, for me to sit here, or do you need to be alone? And these were just like coping mechanisms that we had to learn because, we had a great community, especially Anthony's friends. Shout out to you guys if you're listening. I mean, they really held down the fork a lot. And I remember asking them, like, is this like, did you guys plan this, like, to come over like every single day? Because it just became like a daily thing.
Yeah.
And when I say that, the power of presence is so, so important, and we're definitely going to talk about that in a different episode. But it's what pretty much like held us down during that time. And I remember even with you, like calling you at college one day, it was a Friday night, and you were just like so down. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah,
And
I remember.
Like,
I was depressed.
yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, like, okay, if she calls me and if she asks me how I'm doing, I'm gonna tell her like I think I'm depressed, because I was just not like, I was skipping class, I was emotionally eating, I was depressed. And so I remember you called and you were like, hey, like, how are you? And I was like, yeah, I think I need to like see someone and talk through my feelings, because I'm not feeling okay.
Yeah. So what was the toughest thing for you, like during this time of, of grief? Like, what do you think was the hardest thing throughout that period of grieving?
I think just like, again, feeling like, how do you continue to function while, how is everyone functioning while I'm so not okay? But also, like, I mean, my brother was my best friend. Like, he wasn't just my older brother. So having to figure out what that looks like I sometimes describe it to people like it felt like a security blanket was just like ripped out from me, and it was just like, oh, okay, so the world just like sucks, like, and I had to learn that, life isn't fair. Things like bad things happen to good people. And sometimes there's no explanation for it. And I just kind of had to navigate like what that looks like. And that sometimes it just sucks. Like, and it's okay to be like, this isn't okay. Like, this sucks. And I'm sorry, but like it does. So I think just having to like be okay with that like there may not be an explanation for it, and there may not be an answer for it. And there's just things that just suck.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like, that's just something I feel like I made peace with certain things, because for me, I've learned that, like, I think sometimes people think if you're Christian, like, you're not supposed to go through things, when in fact it's the opposite.
Oh, you
And
go through a lot of
in
things.
fact, probably go through more, but like, you're not immune to things happening to you just because you like are a Christ follower.
Yeah.
And so, we live in a sucky world sometimes where bad things happen. And
Yeah. So I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you this question.
Sure.
How do you think I did during that time as your mom? Because that's tough because, I'm thinking about it right now and my heart just hurts a little bit because you're a mom, right? And you're supposed to protect your kids. And that was kind of rough because I'm grieving, Dad's grieving, Mickey's grieving, you're grieving. And you're trying to like ease your heart and ease the pain and the bleeding, right? Well, my heart is still bleeding. So how do you think, I did during that time as your mom,
I mean, I think that you did as best as you could, like, you're having to, again, function and like try to continue to like be a mom to your kids, be a wife, like
We need to take our tissues here.
I
I didn't know
know.
that we were gonna keep crying.
But like you're trying to like think like function, you know? But yeah, like I think that you did as best as you could, you know? I think that like there were times where I feel like I had to kind of like do certain things because like you and dad were not able to do those things. But overall I feel like you did the best you could with what you did. Like I think that you did a great job at still checking in on me and like even sometimes not letting me know how you guys may have really been doing at home and how difficult it was for me to not be home. Like you were able to still be present for me in how I was dealing with everything. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Some deep stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that even, till this day, I remember us having a conversation that I think we were a little bit challenging. I think you were just starting like to date and stuff and trying to figure out like also like my place in your life, like you trying to figure out like how do I navigate now having, like a boyfriend and all that stuff, right? Because you guys started dating like pretty much like soon after. And I remember Frankie coming to the house and asking us, and he knew from day one that he wanted to marry you because it was supposed to be a conversation of, hey, can I date her? And he went from, yeah, because you do know I want to marry her. I was like, whoa, 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 let's take it a step back. So I think navigating that. And I always remember one thing that you said to me that was so impactful. You said, Mom, I love you so much. Just the thought of us not even like talking or having a relationship like that really, really hurts. Because
Yeah.
it was like we were trying like to navigate all this, and life unfortunately doesn't give us a book, right? It doesn't give us how-to instructions on grief and what that looks like. But I agree. I think we did the best that we could with the tools that we had. And I think that we held each other down the best that we could do. And I think we supported each other the best
Yeah.
that we could. So that's one thing that I'm really, really, grateful for, during that process.
Yeah.
So yeah, my goodness, some good stuff, Sashi, some good stuff.
Good stuff indeed.
Yes. So I know we're kind of having to wrap up. There was like so many other stuff that we wanted to talk about. But if there's someone out there like listening and they're having like challenges like with their daughter and mother relationship, like what are some of the tools or things that you would, share with them?
I think I would just say like from the perspective of like a daughter, just allowing your daughter or kids to know like that you're a safe space for them to communicate to.
Yeah.
And also just like taking time to get to like know your child like for who they are,
Yeah,
like
that's
not
important.
just that they're your kid, but like
Yeah.
I like one thing we used to do all the time, like we would go out like on Saturdays to the mall or stuff like that, or like we try to take our mother-daughter trip or just stuff like that.
Sasha's a
Where
homebound and I'm the opposite. We are
yes,
so opposite
we
from each
are.
other, y'all.
Like I said, I'm a little abuelita.
Yes, she is
I'm
an abuelita,
fine
little grandma.
with my little robe watching a movie. But I think just like getting to know who like your kid is, like what do they like, what are their interests, and also just like having interest in the things that interest them. Like
Yes, that's so important.
I know that you guys were not passionate about listening to
gosh.
choir pieces
Yes,
that
and
were
falling
like
asleep
in
in the
Latin.
audience.
But you guys showed up every time and like
Yes.
were there for me for
3
all those
shows
kind
sometimes
of
a day. And we were there.
Yes. Shout out all South Jersey Regional Choir.
Yes.
Anyways, but like I think just like having an interest in the things
Yes.
that your kids
I
are
agree with
interested
you.
in as they,
Yes.
you go through life and as they grow up and stuff.
Yeah.
And just making sure that they know like, I even if I may not agree with the decision you're making, like I'm here for you, I'm listening to you, and like you at the end of the day know like you have my support.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the biggest thing I would say.
Yeah, I agree with you because I think that the most important things that I could, looking back today, I was like, okay, there was a lot of things like because you and I are so different, right? Everyone says like we look alike, right?
We look alike,
I
but
mean, we do.
but personality wise,
We're so different. So I am very extroverted. I love, doing so many adventurous things in a day. If I had like 30 hours in a day, I would definitely be very appreciative of that. Sashi is like the very homebound. And I remember, and I would just say,
I'm like the planner. Like
yes.
she's
She
like,
needs
let's
to
go
know.
to
I'm very
Philadelphia at
spontaneous,
night at
yes.
10 p.m.
Well,
and
it
I'm
wasn't
like,
at night. We always go back and forth on this. It was a
It was at
Saturday. The
night.
day was beautiful. I was like, we need to
It
take
was at
advantage.
night,
No, it
people.
wasn't. It was in the daytime. But anyway. And I'm like, Sashi Vet, let's go to Philly. And she's like, what? It was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And she's like, she wanted to stay home. And even like certain interests, you
Yeah.
know, how we dress, all that stuff. Sometimes I would be like, oh my gosh, Sashi, look, I found this. And she would be like, that looks more like you. That's not me. And I had to, and you bring up a great point. I never looked at it that way. But it was more of, okay, well, that's what you want. Are you sure? Okay, this is where we are. But I think really getting to know them
Yeah.
and know your daughter and know who she is as a person, it doesn't mean that because you guys look alike,
Right.
it's going to be a mini you. And people always say, like, you know, she's your mini you. But I think as far as the heart goes, yes, you know, that we will always have in common. I think all our family has that. I think it's more of your interest. Like you
Yeah.
had to teach me about like Hamilton and tell me the stories about
Yes.
Hamilton. Listen, I grew up in Panama. We don't talk about Hamilton and the plays and all this stuff. I just recently found out that like the Wizard of Oz was like wicked, right? Because of culture
I don't
and
think you
everything
could
else.
blame that on that. I think that's just you.
But overall, right? And we laugh at these things. And again, just to reiterate, when we do have challenges, because for those listening out there, it's not as if like we don't have disagreements, we don't have,
Yeah.
you know, like difference of views. I would say that. I would say it would be more that because I don't think it's so much like, you know, we've never gotten into a fighting match or any or argument or any of that stuff. But we do have difference of opinion and different
Yeah.
perspectives and stuff.
I mean, we've gone back and forth on things, like,
Yeah, but
but
not
I
to
don't.
the extent I think that
I
like
think it's just
people are like
feeling
yelling
like
and yeah.
no, like I think
Yeah.
just being able to be honest is important,
Yes.
and feeling like you can be honest, like that's
Yeah.
something also I feel like you guys taught us too. Like
Yes,
I'm not
very
gonna let
much.
you, look
Oh,
like a
yeah.
fool.
Yes, we were be very honest with our kids.
Yes, but I think it's just being honest and being able to communicate and feeling like you are creating a space where your
Yeah.
child can come to you and say, whether they're an adult child or not, like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm feeling this way, or this is something I want to do. What do you think?
Yeah.
And still just giving them that support and listening ear, I think,
Yeah, just
is
having,
important.
yeah. And sometimes when things may have fallen, maybe like you felt a certain type of way, very important for you to come back to the table and have those conversations. Because I want to say maybe like 2 months ago, I remember you and I had a conversation. I was driving home from work and you were like, I think we were like disagreeing on certain things, and then afterwards, I think like 2 weeks later, you came and you were like, "Hey, mom, you know, I have to share something with you," because I stopped getting my podcasts. Like she would send me like these long podcasts in the morning going to work, and then I was like, podcasts are getting a little bit shorter. What's happening here?
Yeah, it was
right?
like, I'm on my way to work.
Yeah,
Bye.
yeah. She was angry. She was angry with her mama. But one of the things that we always say is that we do hard things and we've been through some hard things.
Yeah.
So we talk about hard things, and those hard things, they will be with tears just like now. And they will be, well, I see it this way. I see it that way. You know, we're able to have those adult conversations. So also transitioning as a parent also is not easy. But I do agree with you as far as like if there is a mom out there struggling, you know, it's just like, just get to know your child. Just get to know who they are, because the person that they were before as a young child, as a teenager, and as an adult is just so different.
Yeah.
But this has been some good stuff. I could keep going on and on and
I
on.
know. There's so much we could talk about.
Yes, there's so much that we could talk about. Maybe we'll bring you back on another time. So
Sure.
You can, yes, I think next time we're going to have you on with your boo, your hubby.
Oh, yes.
Yes, and we'll bring him on.
Francis.
Yes, Francis. She calls him Francis. His name is Frank.
He's got like a bunch of names, but his name is Frank.
Yeah, so we'll bring our Panamanian Italian guy
Yes.
on next time. But it's been such a pleasure, Sashi, to have you here. I know we've been talking about this for quite some time, bringing
Yes,
you
we
on.
finally
and
did it.
We finally did it. I know you were a bit nervous this morning trying to figure out like what this is going to look like.
Yeah.
You know, so hopefully it wasn't too nerve-wracking
No, it was
for
great.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I definitely appreciate you. I love you. That's one thing that we always say, like when we could,
Yes, love you too.
yeah, we always go back and forth. I was like, okay, see you later. Okay, love you, like, you know. Yeah, so it's just so important. And for those listening, and if you're in a tough season right now and you're in, you know, challenging season, I would definitely say, you know, definitely bring it to God, you know, because that's the first step. And then just continue to, you know, pursue and, you know, send text messages and, you know, just continue to show love, because through it all, you know, that's what matters, because we're not going to be able to get our way. because sometimes I think that what we do also is that we allow the behaviors or everything to get into the middle of the relationship, and that's what ends up, hurting it more.
Yeah.
But Sashi, thank you so much for
Of
coming
course.
on today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
This was great.
yes, thank you. Love you lots, and hope to see you next time.
Yeah.